Once you've chased your positive cable in, I've run it in from the top of the bulkhead down along the side, down along this bit of trim here, and I'm now going to run it under. This is already here. I'm going to run it under this where there's already cables being tucked away. That'll protect it. And then if you see under here is where I'm going to put the fuse. So the fuse will join up this cable, which is running from, so if you can see, the fuse will connect this cable, which will then run to the battery, and that's just running under here. It's just a channel under here, and it's running, it's going to connect to the battery. So that's as close as I'm going to get to the fuse. I don't want to put the fuse box in, I don't want to put the fuse into the actual battery container, because there's no, it's too tight, there's nowhere to put it. And this cable runs from the battery under here. You can see it runs under there, and then comes out here, and the fuse then will rest in this little section here. And I'll probably put a blob of Sikaflex under it just to make sure it doesn't move around. Okay, so the next thing I've got to do is crimp the end terminal for the positive cable. So then that will then hook onto the fuse on one end, and it'll run to the back of the van and connect into the leisure batteries, and that'll be one end connect onto this fuse, and then the other end will be this cable I've just told you about that's running and connecting to the battery in the front. So I'm going to crimp this and then hook it up. Okay, the cable is running from the main battery down along here. It runs under this protector. It's for other cables. These cables here are running to the back, and it runs under there. It's nothing's hooked up yet. Then it comes out just there. You can see it. Comes out just there. There. That's where it comes out. Hooks into this fuse. Then from the other side of the fuse, it's running out under this. It's going to run under here, down around. I'm going to attempt to connect this cable to this cable, so then I can complete the connection and run it to the leisure battery in the back. So I'm going to get out my soldering kit and attempt for the first time to solder two 16mm wires together. Here we go. What I'm going to do is cut back a bit on either end and then see what way I'm going to join it. Okay, so what I've done is I've basically just brought the two cables together and put them together like that, and then twist them. And as you can see, just doing that seems to be good enough. So I'm hoping once I put a good solder on that and then put some heat shrink on it and wrap it in tape. So let's have a go. I've now finished the soldering of the two cables, and it looks pretty rough, and it is pretty rough because it's my first time ever doing it, but I'm hoping that that is gonna do the job. There's a lot of solder on it. And now what I'm going to do is heat shrink this, and because I forgot to put on the heat shrink, I have to come down to the end here and then stick on the heat shrink over the cable, and stick the heat shrink on over the area. That's it, done. See it there? And it's probably the worst soldering job in the history of mankind, but if it works, I'll be very happy. Now the next thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that that's going to go nowhere, what I'm going to do is use some Scotch tape, and hopefully that will do the trick. That's the final joint done, soldered, and it's got the heat shrink on it, and it's also got the Scotch tape, so I'm hoping that that's going to go nowhere. And if the split charge relay doesn't work, well then it's probably because of this crap joint. This is where my cable is going to connect into the voltage sensitive relay. So this is the cable coming from the starter battery. It will then run into the back of this, and it's got starter battery written on the back, so it'll connect onto this one. We run another cable from this to the aux battery, which is the leisure battery, also called aux, don't know why. So I decided that I'm going to fit this just under the 2-gang socket, plug socket there, so that means I have to drill a hole here so I can then feed this through, which is the earthing cable or grounding cable, one or the other, and then bolt that to the chassis of the van. So let's get to work. Okay, so where I'm going to ground this is to this area here of the van, this bolt and a lock nut. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the head. I'm going to use this. I need to get a good connection for the grounding cable to the chassis of the van, so in order to do that you have to scrape away the paint. I'm going to use this wire brush. So as I showed you at the back of the voltage sensitive relay, you have 2 bolts, and this bolt is where you have to connect the cable coming from the starter battery. So in order to do that I need to drill a hole to come out through the back of that and then connect it into this. I now have everything installed and ready to be connected up. So it comes with instructions on how to connect it up, and I'm just going to talk it through and go through it. So it says place fuses in fuse holders, but don't put nuts on. So as you can see, if you can see here closely, I've placed that fuse, this fuse, into the fuse holder here, but don't put any bolts on yet. Don't bolt it in. These are the bolts. And I've also put a fuse into the one in the front of the van. Then the next step is connect lead to the leisure battery positive terminal and tighten. That is this cable here. So I'm going to tighten that. Next step, connect the other end of the lead to your fuse box located next to your leisure battery. So that's this fuse box. So you want to connect lead from the same fuse box to your split charge relay terminal labeled aux battery. The next thing is connect lead from the starter battery terminal on your split charge relay to starter battery fuse box. So let's go up to the other end, do that. Now we're going to connect this end to the starter battery. This is the cable we're running from the back of the van. I put a fuse in it earlier. Then what you do is secure this cable coming from the back. I'm going to connect the earth lead for the leisure battery to the chassis of the van. So I have this cut to length, and we're going to go from the chassis of the van. Using the wire brush and the drill, I've cleaned away the paintwork so we can get a good connection, and this is going to run from here to the ground terminal on the battery. I'm just going to use a self-tapping screw for this to connect it to the side of the van. The split charge relay has now been installed, and I turned on the engine and the red LED light came on the voltage sensitive relay. So what happened was, once the engine went above 13.3 volts, that's the battery from the front of the van, once that reached above 13.3 volts, well then that LED light came on the split charge relay, the voltage sensitive relay, and it cut in, and that meant then that the power from the front of the van went to the leisure batteries in the back, and it started charging them. And then when I turned off the engine, that LED light stayed on for a number of days, because these batteries are brand new and they're not going to lose their power as quickly as they would if they were older batteries, and that meant that the within the batteries stayed above the 12.65 volts for a number of days, because I didn't use any power in the van. I didn't draw any power from the actual leisure batteries. I haven't been doing any work in the van for a week, and now that I'm after coming back, the light is switched off. What I'm going to do now is give you a demonstration of how you test that the split charge relay is working. And what you want to do first is you want to get yourself a voltmeter that will test the voltage in the batteries. When you turn on the van, it should initially fire up to over 14 volts, and then I think that will stay like that for a while and then drop down. And then you test the reading of the main battery in the front, and that should correspond to the same volts in your leisure battery, and that means that the split charge relay is working. And then when you turn it off, the red LED light on this will stay on for a period of time until the voltage begins to drop. That means that the voltage in your main battery has stayed above 12.65, and then as soon as it drops below 12.65, well then it will stop charging. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to test these batteries, because I haven't been in the van for a week, and I'm going to use the multimeter. You want to switch it on to 20 volts. So as you can see, that reads 12.55, and that would be about 75% full. So those batteries are about 75% full. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on the engine, and then I will show you how the split charge relay kicks in. The next thing I will test is the main battery for the van. 12.38. Alright. So now I'm going to test it again. It's roughly around 14.3. So now we'll go back and test the leisure battery. So as you can see, the split charge has turned on. You can see the red LED light, and now because the front main battery in the van has gone above the 13.3 volts, well then it cuts in and then it begins to charge the leisure batteries. And now if we check the leisure batteries, it should be the same voltage as the main battery for the van, which was 14.2 something. Let's check it. Right, so I've let the engine run for a few minutes, and now I'm going to retest the leisure battery and see what voltage it's at. So it was previously 12.5, which is about 75% of your full capacity, just over 13 volts. That means that the split charge relay has charged, so it's gone from being 75% capacity to now being fully charged. That's the installation of the split charge relay now complete. So that means now that I have 3 ways to power my leisure batteries. I've got directly, I can plug directly into the shore power, and I can charge the leisure batteries using my onboard charger using the shore power. Then number 2, I can use solar once I install my solar panels to charge the leisure batteries. And number 3, if I don't have solar power and if I'm off grid, I can use the split charge relay by simply starting up the van and driving for a bit, and that will charge up the leisure batteries. I will give you an update on how the split charge relay is performing in the future. Thank you very much for watching this episode. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments section below this video. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to follow along with the van build series, and if you want to be notified for future videos in the van build series, just click the notification bell and you will be notified for future videos in the van build series. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next one. Slán go fóill.